It's a new week, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I would be reprimanded if I did not tell you to subscribe to the channel. I'm supposed to say that in every video, and every time I forget, my editor gets very aggressive with me and yells at me, occasionally makes me cry, and tells me that based on statistics that you're a lot more likely to subscribe if I tell you to do so. So I would really appreciate if you did that. That way he does not hit me when I drop off this footage to him. Today we are talking about kind of a question I was thinking about last week, which is, should you buy an imperfect house? And let me give you a little bit of sort of clarification on what I mean by this. It's common that people think their dollar is going to go a lot further than it is. So we're going to use Salt Lake as an example because that's where I live and that's where a lot of our clients live. We, inside of my business, 1911syndicate.com, check it out. But we help people all over the country, and there's something about this part of the country where people really think they're going to get a lot more for their money than they are. Let me give you a couple of examples. Had someone reach out not that long ago, and they said, hey, my housing budget is 600 grand. And I'm like, good. It's a good budget. Like, we can get you a house for that. But for that, wanted a house with a workshop to be able to, do his hobbies and stuff like that. Cool. Which is tough. At 600 grand, that's tough, man. A property with a workshop. But the big kicker was it needed to be able to shoot out to 1,000 yards. Not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Like, there's no other way no other way to say it. Not gonna happen. I had another client, and I'm just gonna, we're not even gonna go into that, but another case of like, he's not even trying to be unrealistic. They just don't know any better. So just to give you a little bit of a frame of reference, and then we'll sort of explore the question of should you buy an imperfect house. Here's kind of what you get in Salt Lake right now. So land and acreage, let's talk about it. If you want land or acreage, let's just say that could be an acre, 2 acres, 3 acres, which might sound small to you, depending on what part of the country you're from. Out here, that's a lot of land. Unless you simply are willing to go to the middle of nowhere where there's no resources, where I'm like, what do you do? Like you're one of those people in the middle of nowhere. Like, what do you do with yourself? Like, it's almost alarming. Like, you live near no civilization. But if you want that sort of land acreage out here, you got to go at least to 1 million. Like there's nothing worth really talking about. If you're like, oh, I want to be within an hour of Salt Lake and I want like a minimum of 2 or 3 acres, and my budget's 600 grand. It's like, there's nothing to talk about here. Like I can't pull miracles out of my ass. I wish I could. I cannot. My name is Jake Dwyer. It's not Helen Keller, which means I'm not a fucking miracle worker, everybody. Classic line that I like to use, stolen from Jeremy Piven in Entourage as Ari Gold. Maybe my life hero, Ari Gold. But sort of the starting budget around Salt Lake right now for a single family house, truthfully, is about $500,000. It's really about $500,000 now to get anything that you would even really be tempted to live in. And at 500, I'm not talking about like a new house that's like totally up to date in a big house on like 1/3 of an acre or something like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a normal house in a normal neighborhood. Like, it's probably going to need a little bit of updating. It's probably from the 80s. Going to need a little bit of TLC. It's not bad. It's like a normal house in a normal part of town, That's what about $500,000 gets you. If you want to start talking new construction currently, normal size house, we're not talking about 5,000 square foot houses or anything like that. You really got to go to about 600,000. And I'll be honest with you, that's stretching it. And you're probably not going to get that in the city. You probably get that within an hour to, hour and a half of the city. 600 grand new house, that's going to get you about 0.2 of an acre and a 3-bed, 2-bath house that probably has a basement that's unfinished. That's what about 600 grand is going to get you. Okay, I know that is sad. So the notion that people have about buying houses on multiple acres of land and having this sense of privacy, That is not here. That is not in the mountainous region of the country where you want to go. If that is indeed what you want and you are hard pressed, that is what I want, or nothing at all, then you either need to go to the South or like the Midwest. Texas, not really, not in a nice part of Texas. Like Texas is going to be very similarly priced to here, depending on city and all that kind of stuff. But that's really where you got to go. Pacific Northwest, you're like, yeah, not really, man. It's like Midwest or the South. That's where you get that kind of like house with a little bit of land in property. Okay, so onto the question, should you buy something that is imperfect? And the answer is yes. Even if you are not particularly excited about the house, I'm not saying you should be disgusted with it. That's probably not the case that you want to enter. But if you're like, it's okay, it's not exactly what I was going for, but like, it's okay, like I could live in it, then yes, you should buy that, okay? Because a lot of people just get, disillusioned about what it is that they're going to get for their money. My premise is this: what's the alternative? If you don't buy something, what's the alternative? So you're going to rent something, which is just pissing money down the toilet. I mean, straight up, call it what it is. Renting accomplishes nothing. Renting is spending money. Putting money into a mortgage payment is an investment. Define investment. You bought it at this price and it goes up in value over time. That is an investment. To spend $2,000 a month on rent where you will have zero equity and ownership in it, well, that's called spending money. I spend money on plenty of things like this. These do not invest back into, well, I could argue it, but these do not invest back into me. I spend it. I consume it and it is gone one day. And I spent $100 on that bottle of bourbon and it did nothing other than get me a nice buzz with my steak at night, right? That's about it. So yes, you should buy something that is imperfect, because what's the alternative? You're going to sit around and wait and you're like, I'm just going to save my money for now. Okay, cool. Well, while you're saving money at probably a relatively slow rate, the housing market is doing this. So your savings account to buy a house is doing this. Meanwhile, the housing market is doing this. So even though you grow your savings, the housing market is growing at a pace even faster than you're growing your savings. So when exactly is it that you get ahead and you're in a position where you're like, dude, I'm ready. Like I've saved all this cash and the market's perfect. Like, no, the market went up 100 grand in the time that it took you to save 40 grand for your down payment, hypothetically, right? So it's a losing game. The answer is always, and I was just watching some videos on this in terms of just sort of my daily education in terms of investing during inflation and a recession and all that kind of stuff. And the answer that all the smart big guys in the investment world are going to tell you, you're never going to be able to predict the market. So just get shit when you can get shit. I'm talking about housing. They're talking about stocks. It's just like, no, when you're in a position to buy stuff, buy it, because you're never going to be able to predict the future, right? Even if you're buying something that is not your dream home, that's how it works. A lot of our clients are first-time buyers. You don't buy your dream home on your first time. I don't live in my dream home now. It's a home that, frankly, I could see myself living in for a very long time, but that would require me to do a remodel on it and really make it my own. I bought it as it was. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. That's what it is. And you know what's happened as I've lived here? The equity has climbed. And you know what I could do at that point? I could take cash out of my house to do that remodel with creating very minimal increase in my mortgage payment, right? I could take 100 grand out of my house, go from owing this to owing that. Not going to really affect my mortgage payment that much, and now I've got my dream home. Like, these are things you need to be thinking about. Too many people get stuck on the path of it's got to be perfect. No, it doesn't. It has to be good enough. That's what it has to be. It has to be good enough. How good? I don't know. Good enough. Do you see yourself living in it for 5 years? I'd say at least plan on staying in it for 5 years. Could you see that? Yeah? Go ahead. Yeah, buy it. Like, that's my honest advice, guys, because as you buy it, the equity is going up. Your amount that you owe is going down. This gap called equity, that is what you use one day when you sell your house to go upgrade to your dream home or just your next home at your next phase of life. This is how the process works. Too many people are sitting by right now going, I'm just going to wait it out. It's all going to crash. Really? Okay, cool. Like, yeah, you're a fortune teller now, I guess, because no one on Wall Street can predict anything that's going to happen. No one who's really savvy on real estate can ever predict anything that's really going to happen 2 years from now. So, but it's like, cool. Yeah, you know better. Okay, yeah, good for you, dude. You read a fucking article in Google. You're not going to do it. Buy a house when you can buy a house, guys. That's the end of that. Positive message, right? Positive message today. Let me give you the deal. I am beyond excited about this. So the video is, for the learning part of the video is over. If you'd like to turn off, feel free to turn off. For my bourbon drinkers, I'll share a little story with you. Very old Saint Nick, which is this and this. Yes, I'm a degenerate. I got 2 different versions. I saw this. This is really like a bucket list kind of bottle for me, or distillery, I guess. And I've never seen it really anywhere. And I happened to see that there was a couple bottles of this in Arizona at Total Wine. Shout out Total Wine in Arizona. And I called my friend in Arizona and I said, you need to get in your truck right now and drive over to Total Wine, and you need to make this happen. And I'm very excited about these. These really are kind of like unicorn bucket list bottles for me. This is the 8-year rye, and then this was the, I don't even really know what to make of it, the Harvest rye cask strength. So this is going to have a nice little, what is it, 119 proof. So should have a nice, especially on a rye. Whew, man, that should kick you in the ass a little bit. The 8-year rye is 87 proof. So I'm excited about this. Really, really excited about this, guys. These are in the list of probably the most expensive bottles I bought. Despite being really into the bourbon thing at this moment in time, I still have a threshold where it's like, I can't give you $1,000 for a bottle of booze. Like, I've got too many other things I've got to do and pay for, where it's like, it's beyond that. That's about my threshold right there. Very excited. Haven't cracked them yet. I will let you know once I do, tell you if they're any good or not. Beyond that, subscribe to the channel. If you need real estate help, let us know. Our clients are spread out largely all over the country. We've got clients right now in, of course, Utah, but Anchorage and parts of Tennessee and Texas and, you know, all over. So if you need help, let us know. We will be honest with you. If you need to have the Band-Aid ripped off because you have bad ideas related to real estate, we will rip that off. And just remember that I'm telling you this up front because I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just trying to be honest with you. That's really what it comes down to. So thanks for tuning in. We will see you next time.